Welcome, everybody.
Hey, hey. Good boy, Tucker.
Work smarter where you want.
This is learning at its most fun.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today on another Redtail Thursday webinar. My name is Curtis. I'm one of the trainers here at Redtail. And today is part one of a two-part series. We're going to be going over how to handle prospecting. So again, this is just part one of a two-part series. You can join us next week, next Thursday, same time for part two. But today, what we're going to be covering is really the foundation of your contacts in regards to how you're going to handle them for prospecting. And so with that, what I'm going to do is start here on our slides is in regards to best practices, there's two fields that we really want to focus on. The first one is going to be contact status, and the second is going to be contact category. So in regards to status, keep in mind, status is designed to be high level. It's always going to be answering the question, why is this contact record in my database? So even though we're focusing on prospecting, your database is going to have your clients, it's going to have business contacts. Pretty much any contact that you have should be in your CRM, because again, CRM stands for Contact Relationship Management. In this regard, we're going to be using one of the statuses of prospect. Now, you can also, depending on how you do your prospecting or what verbiage you use, I want to point out that these options of the status are customizable. So if you want to use lead and prospect, or just lead or prospect, or a combination of both, you have the ability to do so. And so again, these are just examples, but we're really going to be talking about the prospects. So high level, you have the ability to customize this drop-down list. We have examples of active, inactive, prospect, deceased, and then the category is going to be used for a more detailed level. If you were dealing with just clients, we have options of like A, AA, or AAA, or maybe you want to do A, B, C, D, gold, silver, platinum. But with prospects, we use things like hot, cold, lost, warm, pending. It really gives us a way to give more detail to, if they're a prospect, what level of prospect are they currently? And so again, these options are customizable in your database. And to do so, I'm going to switch over to the CRM. And so if you're logged into the CRM, you can go to your name in the top right-hand corner and then go to manage your account. Once you're on the manager account page, you can scroll down to the bottom and there's a section that says admins only. So if your username has admin access, you'll actually see this box, and in it, you'll see the second item down says manage database lists. Once you click on the manage database list page, you're going to see it's going to take you to a list that says account type. So we're not going to focus on accounts right now. We're going to go over to the right-hand side to where it says manage lists. And from there, we can actually scroll down and we see the section that says contacts. This whole list on the right-hand side is all of the customizable drop-down lists in Redtail that you can change, add to, remove things from. You actually have control over a majority of these lists. But I'm going to go down and choose statuses. And so right away, it's going to load my status list on the left-hand side. If I wanted to add something here, like if I didn't have prospect, or maybe I wanted to add something like lead, I can just go up to the top, hit add, and then I can type in whatever new status that I want available. So now I've just easily added the option to have lead as a status. Now, again, these are all just going to be high level. If I go over to the right-hand side, I can choose categories, and this is where you can give more detail based off of the status. So this is why you see I have A, AA, AAA. I have things like cold, hot, lost, pending, warm. These are all options that you can add to your database lists to actually control your different groups in your contact lists. And so to actually show that off a little bit more and go back over to the slides, and what I want to show is, again, status and category work together. So as a suggestion, you really want to come together and say, well, what does each one of these combinations mean? You know, not every single category is going to go with every single status. and vice versa. Not every single status is going to use every single category. So splitting them up and putting them into a list and giving definition is what we like to call a style guide, and is really beneficial to actually making sure everybody is on the same page when you're actually managing your contact list. So in this case, because we're focusing on prospects or even leads, I see that if they have the status of lead, they can either have the category of warm, cold, or lost. And if they're a warm lead, it means I only have their name and contact information. If they're cold, it means no contact was made over a certain period of time. And if it's lost, it means no, the contact has no interest. But that gives me a lot of information of anytime I look at a contact and I see they're a status of lead with the category of lost, I know exactly what that means. Now, the same concept, you can build this out however you choose, goes with prospect. If they're the status of prospect and they have the category of hot, it means that we've actually scheduled we've actually scheduled a meeting with that contact. If they're cold, it means the meeting was held and then there's no further contact afterwards. If they're a prospect that's been lost, it means it wasn't a good fit. They weren't qualified. Or if they're pending, it means that we've actually scheduled their onboarding meeting. So again, each of these different categories can correlate back to the prospect and have a different meaning as to what that actually means for the contact record. You'll see that gives you so much information just by using those two fields. Now, again, I do want to point out one more time, what I have in status and category are just examples, and you have the ability to customize it however you wish. But I definitely do strongly suggest build out a style guide so everybody in your office is on the same page and understands what the definition of those two fields means to your Redtail database. Now, once you've put this all together, we can actually, too far over, we're gonna go this way. All right, so once you put it together, you might also wanna sketch something out like, what is the flow from lead to prospect to client? Like, what does that look like? This also helps, gives a visual representation. So in this graph, I've decided that on the top is going to be status, the bottom is category, but I've decided everybody gets added as a lead warm. Once I actually add them as a lead warm, they either move to a prospect hot, a cold lead, or a lost lead. If they move to a prospect hot, then from there, they have the ability to go to a prospect pending, prospect cold, or prospect lost. If they're on prospect pending, and I have them scheduled for that meeting, because remember, my style guide on this page shows if they're a prospect pending, that we've scheduled their onboarding meeting. And so again, if they're here, they're either going to move to a client A, AA, or AAA. Now, again, we're not going to get too far into once they're a client today, but again, if you want to use A, B, C, gold, silver, platinum, like those categories are actually customizable depending on however you want to set those up. Now, let's actually talk about how we can group them and pull those different groups, because it's very important to understand, why do I need to group them? How can I see that? So if we go over to the CRM, I'm actually going to go just back to the today page, refresh this page so we can start from scratch. But if I actually want to start pulling up different groups of contacts, I can do so by going over to the left-hand side and clicking on contacts. From there, up at the top, I can click on advanced search. When you go to the advanced search page, it's actually giving you the ability to narrow down and find groups of contacts based off of the values in specific fields. What I mean by that is I can actually use these 4 boxes and find contacts that have the status, the category, anything in their database that I want. So for here, I'm going to start at the top where it says type. Most commonly, you're going to choose contact. That's going to then open up the field dropdown, and I have lots of different options here. We're going to start with status. The operand tells the search how to work. Most commonly, you're just going to choose equal to, and then the value you're going to see, here's that list of values for status. You'll notice that I have a lead, I have prospect, I have active client. Lead is what I had added earlier in this database. It wasn't there before until I added it to the database list, and now it's available. But if I want to say, just show me every single contact who has the status equal to prospect, I could run that search and it says you have 60 prospects. Right away, I actually see that information and know that, hey, here's all of my prospects. But if I scroll down this list, you'll see that some prospects are warm, some are lost, some are cold, actually, and some are hot. That actually kind of goes against what I have in my slide deck here. So again, I have warm prospects, but I don't have it on my style guide here. Warm is maybe something I should just use for lead. Now, again, these are just suggestions. Maybe you do want to use warm prospect. That's up to you. But again, if you build out a style guide, make sure that your contacts are actually in line with what that style guide is. Now, I do like to point out, you can actually make some bulk changes. So back over to the CRM, if I say, oh, hey, I have a bunch of people marked as warm prospects, but really their category should be hot, not warm. What I can do is actually use the search to narrow down those contacts by those fields. So again, I already narrowed down to contact status equal to prospect. Then I could hit and then I want to narrow it down to anybody who has the contact category that's equal to warm. Now, the reason I'm doing this again is I've decided in my style guide, warm prospect isn't a thing, only warm leads, and that's fine. So I can go about this two ways. Either I want to change their status to lead, or I want to change their category to hot. I'm just showing this off mainly because I want to show off that you can do some bulk changes. So in this case, if I said, hey, they shouldn't really be prospects, they should be leads, I can select all over on the top left-hand corner, then choose contact options and bulk actions. And this allows me to say, I can come in and say, I want to change the contact status in bulk over to lead. Or I can do the same thing as, well, actually, I really want to change the contact category from warm over to hot. And I can definitely do it either way. You don't have to make bulk changes, but I definitely wanted to show that those options are available. So if you find yourself having some data issues and like everybody's not lined up correctly, you can go in and start making bulk changes to your contacts to get everybody in line with whatever you've decided is the definition of your style guide. Okay, so again, the style guide is just a way to list what your status is, your categories, any of your database lists are, and what it means to be listed with that actual list, with those actual terms. What I do want to leave you with before we move on is if you want to see examples of a style guide, you can easily find one by going to the question mark in the top right-hand corner. And then from here, you can click on Redtail Help Desk. Once you're on the help desk in the top right where it says search, you can just type in style guide and hit enter. And it's going to actually show you an article called Style Guide, which gives you some basics like I was showing today. So maybe you want to give some definitions just to your statuses. Maybe you want to give definitions to your statuses that include the categories. Or maybe even if you want to see that one graph, like how can I move them forward? What's the flow chart of going from a lead all the way to a client? These are all just examples to give you just a head start on how you want to set up the foundation of your database. Now on this same page, even though it has all these great helpers, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's a section where you can actually download a completed style guide or even sample database lists. So if you find yourself saying, hey, I actually want to steal some of the examples they were doing at the training, you don't necessarily need to write them down. You can actually just go to our help desk, search style guide, and you can easily find all of those suggestions. All right, I'm gonna go back to the CRM now. So again, what's really important, especially with prospecting, is understanding why contacts are in your database. So again, one more time, if I need to run a search, I can go over to contacts on the left-hand side, go up to the top and choose advanced search. From here, I can then narrow it down to which contacts I'm looking for. So contact status equal to prospect, and I'm actually find my pending contact category equal to, and we're going to choose pending this time. And so what this means is here's a list. Oh, I don't have anybody. So we'll switch this over to warm. It means I don't have anybody that's currently pending and becoming a client, but if I do, and actually let's pick a few people. So we're going to do those bulk changes. If I select them, go to my contact options on the right, bulk actions, I can actually do a contact category change and switch some people over. Now, again, I'm just showing how you can manipulate these lists. You have complete control over it. But again, if you don't have an understanding of the foundation, it's going to be harder to actually go through and build out these lists because again, it's all based off of the foundation and those two drop downs. All right, so now that I've changed some people over, I'm actually going to run that search again of contact status equal to prospect and category equal to pending. What this means is these are the people that I have prospects that are currently scheduled to have an onboarding meeting. So they're actually pretty far in the process. If this is maybe a list that you want to run on a regular basis, what I definitely suggest, because these contacts are not designed to always be prospect pending. The goal is they're going to become clients, but maybe I want to always easily pull up and see who's on deck to become a client. I always want to have this list. I can run the search and save it. And then from here, I can just name it however I want, pending prospects. And once I save that, it creates a quick list. And if you're unfamiliar, a quick list is just saved search results. So I can easily bring up the contacts who have those values. Once you save it, if you want to run that quick list again, you can go to recently viewed in the top right-hand corner, tab over to quick lists, and then find the quick list you saved. And I'm going to find pending prospects, and it runs it, and there they are. I got my list ready to go. Now, once you set up your foundation, you have all of your contacts and your prospects in, and they're organized correctly. The next thing we really want to do is focus on, well, who should I be reaching out to? Maybe I do have a prospecting process, and we're going to be talking about an actual cadence process and reaching out and making calls and scheduling emails and things like that in next week's prospecting part 2. So we'll really get into talking about the task management of prospecting. But if I actually want to use my foundation, see, well, who are the prospects that I haven't been working with? Who have I missed? Did anybody fall through the cracks? Should they still be hot prospects? Or do I need to move them over to cold prospects because I haven't been doing anything with them? So there's a lot of questions you ask yourself, and maintaining a database is a lot of actual just management and making sure that you know exactly what you're doing with all your contacts. And so again, what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be using anybody who has the status of prospect and the category of hot. So I have these 20 people. I want to see, is there anybody who I haven't had any communication with lately? Okay, so again, you can run the search and it brings up who they are, which is great information. But now I want to see, what have I not been doing? Who did I miss? Who have I not reached out to? So we're actually not be doing searching with that. We're going to go over to the left-hand side and we're going to click on reports. Once you're on reports, I'm going to have you scroll down to where it says contact reports. And then one of my favorite reports is the very last item called no contact. Once you click the no contact report, this is actually designed to show you any contact record who hasn't had any notes or completed activities in the past certain amount of time. So what that means is if I come over here to the right and click on filter, this is going to show me any contact who hasn't had a note or activity in the past 90 days. And I can narrow down by specific statuses and categories. So why this is important is maybe if I don't talk to a prospect in over a year and I still have them labeled as a hot prospect, I want to move them to a lost prospect or a cold prospect. But first I need to find out who those people are. So again, I'm going to look just in the past year. And because I set up my foundation, I'm using status and category. So I only wanted to look at prospects, and specifically only prospects who have the category of hot. Using just those first 3 things, this is going to show me any hot prospect who hasn't had a note or completed activity in a year. And that's really great information. So if I apply that filter, it shows I have 15 contacts who meet that. So we ran the search and saw I actually have 20 hot prospects, but 15 of them I haven't done anything with in a year. You can go about that in a few different ways. So maybe it's like, hey, I want to actually reach out to these people, find why I haven't done anything with them. If you do want to do something like that, you can just go to the top right-hand corner and hit search. That'll send all 15 of them to the search page. And now I can find whatever information I want from those contacts. But that's an easy way to find out who did I miss. In this case, maybe I've decided, well, if I haven't done anything with them in over a year, I'm just going to move them over to cold. So in this case, I'm going to select all. Once all of them are selected, I can choose contact options, then back to my bulk actions. And then I'm going to go to change contact category. And this easily enough, I'm just going to change over to cold because I did my due diligence. I checked who have we not done anything with, and now they're all cold prospects. It doesn't mean I'm done with them. It just means I'm labeling them correctly to go in line with what I actually want to do in my database with those contact records. Now, again, you can use that report, the no contact, for many different things. So if I go back over to reports, then scroll down to my contact reports and choose no contact again, maybe I want to look at like my leads or my actual warm prospects, things like that. You can actually use this for any of the statuses, any of the categories in those combinations. I mean, for once people are clients, like if you have a client service model of, I want to deal with my active AAA clients every 90 days, same situation here. You can say 90 days active AAA. This report is going to show you, here's your active AAA clients who you haven't done anything with in 3 months. But again, it's really great for prospecting just to recognize and say, see, who have I not done anything with? And again, this is always going to look in the past. I'm going to actually narrow it down back down to pending this time, sorry, cold. And then maybe I want to make smaller chunks. So now that I've updated everybody who is a hot prospect who I haven't had communication with in over a year, maybe I then want to search for the cold prospects who it's been 6 months, really narrow it down. So now, okay, here's everyone who I haven't had communication with in at least 6 months. And really, so it gives you that information, that ability to really run those reports, find that information however you want. And again, it all comes down to the foundation of your contacts.
Thanks so much for joining us today for this particular session. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call at 800-206-5030, option 3 for support, or just shoot us an email over to support@redtailtechnology.com. Thanks a lot and have a great day.